Welcome to ANM News and yet another edition of ANM-এর Adda. And we have with us today a very dynamic police officer of national importance. Why I say national importance? We'll surely get to know slowly as we progress. Welcome Mr. Pankaj Singh, Special Director, BSF,
Thank
India.
you.
And the Border Security Force is responsible not only for guarding our border, but then defending our border also. And Mr. Singh is a very senior officer. He's not only been in Border Security Force, he's been here, there, everywhere. So we'll get to know a lot about Mr. Pankaj Kumar Singh and more about his life in police force. A very warm welcome to you in ANM News. And let's start by saying, I'm sure in your childhood, your father was another legendary police officer. So you've always seen the police, right, from day one. My first question, you always wanted to be a police officer?
Not exactly. When you see the police at home itself, looking at police as home has a charm of its own, but looking at it from the professional point of view, that's something different. Yes, policing always looked very different, very visible face of the government also. But yes, in the initial childhood, I never imagined that as a career I would adopt it. But over a period of time, yes, it all culminated into it, and yes, I joined the police force.
Thank you. You must have traveled. Wow, it's got honey also. Oh, fantastic. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So, over a cup of hot tea.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, you must have traveled a lot during your childhood days. So, tell us of your experience initially after school, college, during those periods. How did you go down the memory lane and share with us and with our viewers during times in those days?
Yeah, since my father was also in a government service, so there was a lot of movement. We started with Delhi initially, that was for a short time, and then we went as far as away as Nagaland. And this Nagaland was way back in the year 1965. So that is where I have some memories. That's how the first memories of a place are in Nagaland. There I started some primary education there, and it was wonderful. A school so far away from the mainland, it used to take at least 3 days to reach Nagaland in those times. And even during those times, it was very interesting to note with the school where I started my studies. Even that had nuns from Italy at that point of time in the year 1965.
So, was it in Kohima?
It was in Kohima,
Okay.
Yes, a Little Flower School. That was a school in Kohima, and which is where I started my education. But within a very short time, my father moved away back to Delhi. So we came back to Delhi once again. Schools change, systems change. We studied in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in Delhi, and my father was in the government again, in the police, and 4 years in Delhi, and then we moved to UP again. Why I'm telling you 4 years is how frequently we were moving from one place to another.
Did it affect your studies?
I'll come to that. And here my father gets transferred in September. So we moved to Lucknow. That is where my father went back to his cadre. And you come back to Lucknow, it is 2-3 months down the session. It's a different system from CBSE, it's the UP board system. The books are all different, the course is different, the classmates are different, and the school is different. I still remember the first day when I went to school in Lucknow, 1973, the 7th of September. And naturally, all the classmates were very enjoyed it. There's a new student, and they told the teacher, here's a new student who has joined the class. And I was very intrigued. Why are they so surprised? I'm sure students must be joining regularly. And then they said, my teacher asked me, where have you come from? I said, I've come from Delhi. And which class were you in? I said, I was in 6th, because I got admitted to class 7th here. 2-3 months had already passed, the session was late, and I had no clue what I'm in for. Then I was told 10 days later were the quarterly exams. Now quarterly exams, a different course, I had no clue what was going on. So, and the teacher, for the first time I found, the teacher was also not very encouraging. He said, "So how good were you at studies in school?" I said, "I was fairly good in Delhi." "And what rank were you getting there?" I said, "I was number 1 in the class in Delhi." Then he said, "So obviously you will fail here."
Oh my God.
I can still remember the teacher, and I have never seen a teacher that was so discouraging to a student on the first day in the class. Anyway, that probably helped me because it made me realize that no, I must disprove this teacher. Disprove, and I must do it to the best of my ability. And I worked day in, day out, and within 10 days I was barely able to copy, the stuff that had been done over 2 months. And then came the quarterly exams, and at the end of quarterly exams, when we got the results and all, so I had come 10th in the class, which was fairly good.
It's pretty good. It's very good.
Very good, absolutely. So
especially joining in the middle of the
joining in the middle. So yes, the studies did suffer at times. When we moved 2 years in Lucknow, then we went to Jhansi. Now this was again CBSE system, and I must tell you another very, very interesting incident which I could like to share with the people here also. Now here I get admitted in class 8th. In the CBSE system, chemistry is taught from class 7th onwards. Now here I come into the 8th. I have never done chemistry in the UP board. So I again have to copy about a month's work because I'm late here in this session also. So I borrowed my classmates' copies, and in physics and Hindi and chemistry, I all copied everything. So one day when I gave my copy to the chemistry teacher for checking, he said, "Who is Pankaj Singh?" And I raised my hand, here I am. I still remember the name of the teacher, Mr. S.A. Khan. He said, "Have you never done chemistry before?" I said, "No. In the UP board in Lucknow, we did not have chemistry, and so it is absolutely new to me. So here I am. I just copied whatever had been done in the class before I joined." I said, "Okay, no wonder. You have no clue about what chemistry is." And I was not able to understand. Why is he saying that? I have copied things very neatly, very properly, point to point, and each page to page. I had not missed out anything, and that I was very sure about. And then he said, "Now look, here is a boy who has no clue of chemistry." And if you know in chemistry you write sodium as N capital and A small, and chloride as C capital and L small. Now I, maybe to have neatness and clarity, I had written everything in capital, N capital, A capital, C capital, L capital. That is what intrigued the teacher when I had no clue. So that was my starting with chemistry. And like you said, did you have any problems? Yes, from one session, one system, CBSE to UP to CBSE, it did pose problems at times. And I used to wonder, why am I not in one school? And here again, 1 year in CBSE system in Jhansi, and I moved back to UP in the same school in the UP board again.
My God, it's an assortment of
yes, different syllabus, different system. Yes, it was an issue at times. Yes,
but do you feel? I mean, when you go down the memory lane, when you look at yourself in school and during those phases, were you a very naughty person, or very studious, or very? I mean, we all have children in ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
So you know what I mean. Were you that kind of like?
Yeah, yes.
Jumping up.
You want to know a lot of secrets about me, which is good, and why not? I mean, till my class 2, I was a very, very naughty kid.
Okay.
Very, very naughty kid, to the extent that when I was in Delhi for about a year, I got lost in Delhi twice.
Oh my God.
That is when I was maybe barely about 3 years old and 4 years old. I would just run out of the house and just go off somewhere. Those days, maybe now you can understand 63, 64, or getting lost in Delhi, in Connaught Place, and I was lost from early morning till late evening.
My God.
And nobody would have any clue. And finally, my dad was called from his office. He's not present. He's not traceable. And then he ran around. And where do you go? You go to police station. Evening, I was found at the police station in Delhi crying. And that is how I was found. So I was a very naughty kid, but somehow I felt very ill, almost on the verge of death in class 1 and 2. That somehow changed me completely. Then I became a very sincere and a very law-abiding or rule-abiding kid by then.
By the time you
went to class
10,
no, by the time I came to class 3. I was a very, very sincere and a quiet kid.
Quiet kid, great.
Yeah.
And did you take to sports in a big way? And tell us about your life in class 10 and 11 and 12.
Yeah, sports somehow came very naturally to me, and I would consider myself even today basically an outdoor person. Sports came very naturally. I could play almost all games in a very, very natural manner. In my school in 9th, 10th, I was representing my school in 6 to 7 games. I was the best athlete. My records in discus and high jump were there. In my plus 2, I changed the school again. There also I was the full color holders in that school. That was Kolvin Talukdar's College in Lucknow. And there also I was a very star athlete there. Again, representing my school by representing the school, going to Roorkee, going to Indore, playing with Delhi College, and playing 5 games, 6 games. So sports did come very naturally to me. Yeah, and I loved sports from the bottom of my heart. And without sports, I was not able to study.
Absolutely. So now being a police officer's son,
Yeah.
did you see any violence in childhood, like any kind of a situation where your house was gheraud, or political scenarios happened in front of your bungalow?
No,
or something of that
I
sort?
sort. And I think my father kept us in a very systematic and by design away from the official things. So yes, I was seeing police all the time, but I had no clue of what policing is all about, or what are the ranks which go with police, or what exactly does the police do by lodging an FIR, going about investigation. I did not have any clue. So yes, I was seeing my father in the police, and that was about all.
So did he used to discuss police matters, or did he used to discuss about his experiences with you?
Yeah, sometimes he used to discuss some very, but that would be once in a blue moon. We never used to discuss policing in the house. House was house.
Different.
And family issues and private issues and going to grandparents and other things, those issues were discussed. But policing by and large was not discussed in the house. No.
So as you stepped up, as you stood for graduation, when did you decide that you want to become a police officer? You want to sit for UPSC examination?
I guess that was when I was in my graduation. Okay. So after my plus 2 in UP, I went to do my graduation from Delhi University. And I joined Hindu College and did my BSc Honours in Physics. So that was the time when I decided that yes, I think I'm made out, probably because I could easily see from my dad's job what policing demanded out of you, and the skills that are wanted in policing and how you can do well and what all does the job entails. By and large, you had a good idea once I was in college.
He was an inspiration.
He was an inspiration, certainly, I would say yes. But I also saw that unless and in any kind of job, unless until you have the skills of what the job demands, you will not be successful. You may be brilliant in your own career, but if you don't have the personal, interpersonal skills, you will not make a good police officer, because there's a lot of public dealing and getting your people around as a team. So if that you had those skills, that subset, then maybe you could go. I thought I had those skills, and so I said, yes, let me go in for government service. That is when I decided in the graduation that I should go into the government service.
Were you looking for IPS, or you just sat for UPSC examination and thought whatever a branch I will get, I'll be satisfied with?
You see, UPSC is ultimately on a merit cum preference basis. So I knew the basic, wherever the management skills are required, whether it's IAS or foreign service or IPS, I think I had the skills and I should be able to do well. So once I gave the exam and I got police, I thought it's a wonderful job, and having seen it from so close quarters, I knew I should be able to do well.
Great. Then once you joined the police force, once you became an IPS officer, where was your first posting and what was your initial experience?
My first posting was in Jodhpur. Jodhpur, where I was posted as Assistant Superintendent of Police. That was my first posting. That was in the year 1990. After having done my training and completed that, I landed up in Jodhpur. Oh, it was a wonderful experience. We had wonderful seniors in the Superintendent of Police and the DIG who gave me absolutely full independence. And they even went to the extent of saying that in case you see a wrongdoing, a wrong job, a criminal act, whether or not it's your area, go ahead and do it.
Whether or not it's
your area, you just go ahead and do it. Okay. So that gave me so much of confidence, that gave me so much of freedom, that I think I always went out of the way, and 24/7, whenever I had any kind of information, any kind of source coming to me, I would entertain him and I would definitely take action, and that improved the credibility of my department, as well as I learned a lot during those periods, and the things that I did during those time, maybe I would not dream of doing them now.
Can you share one of your experiences?
One very interesting experience that I can share with you was one of my policemen was suspended for some wrongdoing in a job. And since I was the junior most IPS officer in the Jodhpur, he came to me, "Sir, can you please help me out?" I said, "Listen, you have done a wrong thing. The only thing I can make a request for you is if you give me some source information and if you are able to do something good based on your information." I said, "Okay, I'll try my best." The very next day, he comes to me and says, "Sir, there are 3 people desperate to go to Bombay. This is the year 1991. And they are willing to pay even $50,000 to go by flight to Bombay." I said, "This does not sound normal. There's something wrong." "So, have you seen those people?" "Yes, sir." "Do you know why they are going?" "I don't have a clue why they are going, but they are desperate. So, there's something wrong." So, I sent him to the airport. I said, "Whenever they reach the airport, let me know." So, I'm sitting in my office, which is about 4 to 5 kilometers from the airport. And evening 5 o'clock, he gave me a, "Sir, they have boarded the flight." I said, "But you should have told me before. I needed to intercept them." So I drove my gypsy at a breakneck speed, and I took another deputy with me, whose area it was, because this was not my area. Airport was not my area. So we reached the airport and we see that the plane, the ladders have been taken off. The plane has started moving, and so now it will reach the runway and then attempt to fly. Now, the quandary was, how do I stop the plane? So I sent the deputy SP, whose area it was, "Giriraj, you go and stop the plane." Now, you can imagine, Giriraj is a very rustic but a very sincere and a hard-working guy. He runs through on the tarmac, goes next to the plane and says, "Stop, stop, please stop the plane." Now, you can imagine the plane going and a person running and saying, "Stop, stop, stop the plane." So anyway, the pilot was baffled, you can imagine, and then the ATC said, and then I was wondering, I said, "So the plane is moving?" He said, the person and the airport, "Sorry, unless and until you give it in writing, we cannot call the plane back." I said, "I'll give it to you in writing, call the plane back." So he told the AC, now the plane comes back. The first sight was a person, beckoning the plane to stop. Then we got these 3 people, identified and brought them off the plane. And we found out that they had no checked-in baggage also. They had only handbag. We checked up the hand baggage, nothing. Now what do we do? I was in a worry. No mobile phones. You cannot talk on wireless. My SP has no idea that we have stopped the plane. My DIG has no idea we have stopped the plane. And the Indian Airlines in Delhi knows the plane has been stopped by police for no reason. Now, my SP gives me a call. "Pankaj, have you stopped the plane?" I said, "Yes, sir." "What have you found?" I said, "Nothing." Now I was worried, if I stop these 3 people, how do I make them, board the flight next day? Because I don't have the money. My salary is barely $3,000. So he said, "Okay, you tell them that we want to offload them for security reasons, then maybe we'll send them by the next flight." So we offload them by security reasons, and with that age, you don't realize the gravity of the situation. We had a farewell party in the evening for an additional SP who had retired. So we went to his farewell party, took off these 3 people, put them in 3 different police stations and went off. The moment we enter the party, my SP and DIG blast me off completely. "What do you think, irresponsible people? You stop a plane and you don't even tell us." Anyway, we got a firing and we said we have discovered nothing. But after the party, so we went back, collected the 3 people, did a police bit of investigation, yes, tried out all kinds of things, and just found one slip of PCO slip wherein they had made calls to Pakistan.
Oh.
Now, this is the only clue that we have. From the local PCO at about 12 o'clock at night, we verify, yes, this was the guy who called to Pakistan. Now, to cut a long story short, by morning, by interrogation, we had found out that gold smuggling between India and Pakistan had stopped because 30 kilos of 2 consignments had been caught.
Okay.
Now, the Pakistanis were blaming the Indians and the Indians were blaming the Pakistanis. As a result of this, now the Pakistanis said, let's have a meeting in Dubai. So, these 3 people, two Muslim gentlemen who were the main couriers, and Sony, a gentleman, who was the telephone exchange operator because he used to get the telephones across. These 3 were going from Bombay to Dubai to meet the party which was coming from Pakistan to Dubai to sort out everything and start the smuggling again.
My God.
So this got out, and then we also found out during all interrogation, tying up with the agency, that both the Muslim gentlemen were wanted in Coffee Posa warrants for smuggling 10,000 kilos of silver each. So this was the story which came out, and so now we stopped a plane, we disembarked them because we knew nothing, we didn't have a clue what was wrong, and ultimately we found they were all wanted under Coffee Posa. The gold smuggling was to start again, and so this was a wonderful case that we were able to work out.
Major this thing.
Major from nothing.
From nothing.
From
and
nothing.
SP and DIG are definitely very elated after
Yeah, DFSP and DIG were very elated, and they said wonderful work done by the district team, and our names were not there at all.
So you have seen, as a Rajasthan cadre officer, during your stint in Rajasthan, you must have seen a lot of chief ministers, political parties, because Rajasthan politics has always been topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
So one time the BJP and the Congress,
Yeah.
things have been moving in Rajasthan. So my first question in this regard is, did you ever face any political pressure?
If you're talking in terms of political pressure on investigation of cases, well, I would say there were pressures, definitely. People try to exert all kinds of pressures. But you see, you also build up a reputation and a name over a period of time. For whatever you do in the initial 3, 4, 5, 6 years of a time, that is the way you build up your reputation. That here is a person who will accede to so much of request and no more. So, with the kind of reputation that one of us, yes, in the initial days also, there were issues when the local politicians were against me, but somehow the chief minister at that point of time, Mr. Bhairav Singh, knew the facts. He found out the facts himself. He got it clarified from other people also. Chief minister has so many sources, and finally, since my stand was correct, he supported me to the hilt, and nothing. So I realized that if I am correct, there will be somebody somewhere who will at least know the truth, and the truth, as you know, will always come out.
Always
either 2 days later, 5 days later, 7 days later. So pressures, yes, people keep applying, but then it depends upon you, how much you are willing to succumb to those pressures. And it is my hunches, only if you have skeletons in your cupboard, only if you have certain negative things that you have done or things that you are into, will you succumb to such pressures. Otherwise, there is no reason why you should succumb to pressures, and ultimately people realize, and I can also assure you, people even talk behind your back, that yes, this person did not listen to me, did not do my work, but he does the correct thing. So I think one was able to come out with flying colors all the time, and there have been cases where even the chief ministers, I would not name who, wanted us to toe a certain line. But when I personally went, explained that I had seen the papers are absolutely in this direction, they said, fair enough, if papers are in this direction, somebody misfed us. So you do the correct thing. So I don't think anybody has. So you need to stand up and tell or give the correct picture also. That's important.
Absolutely. But here, what we have seen, the new generation of officers, they often succumb to political pressure for good posting. So what's your advice to them?
My advice is to them, you see, in any case, whether it is a policing or an administrative job, your job speaks for yourself. And ultimately, whatever you're planning, whether it is policing, having a better control over crime or criminals, or getting them before the court of law, ultimately it is the work that you're doing, it shows. There is no way that if you're doing something, it will show up something else. If you're doing something, it shows whether you're in the administration. There are certain projects you take up, the projects will fructify over a period of time and people would know. It is not that all my work will get attributed to somebody else. It doesn't happen that way. People do know, people are smart enough these days with mobiles and cameras and everything, people know everything. So if you are doing the correct thing, I think in the ultimate analysis, you do not have to go anywhere and seek or beg for posting. They will come automatically, because even a politician, if he gives you charge of a particular assignment, post, district or whatever, he wants the work done in that district, because even when he has to come back, so he would want a person who delivers rather than a person who does nothing and only curries favors with you. So in the ultimate analysis, your work will speak for itself. You do not have to really go out of the way to beg for or clamor for postings.
Yeah. But do you think that today's IPS officers, and there's a major section of IPS officers who are more compromised, who are going to go to any extent for better postings? I mean, is this is a scenario which is often which you often see in not only in West Bengal but in all the states, I mean across the country. So what is your point of view on that? I mean, there are certain realistic scenarios where you have seen that IPS officers compromise themselves to get better postings and things like that, even at the national level. So
my take is, you see, there are all kinds of officers everywhere. Even today, I know there are certain very outstanding officers, whose work is outstanding, their delivery is outstanding, and their integrity is beyond, above board, completely. But yes, you have all kinds of officers, but I would suggest, my advice to them would be, do your work, do your honest job. In the long run, you see, like you also know, in the short run, the Chinese goods will run, but in the long run, only quality matters. So whether it's a material good that you talk about, yes, or the work, your work will ultimately build upon itself over a period of time. You're in the service not for 2 years, you're in the service for 35 years, 30 years. So in the period, you can build up only on your kind of work, and ultimately you have to decide the line. Nobody in the service forces you to do a wrong thing. Rajasthan was not my state. Rajasthan, I don't have any relatives also. But to be able to build up my own name or a credibility, I had to build it up myself. So the work that I am doing, nobody can say that, no, Pankaj's credibility is this. There will be 10 people who say, no, he has worked over a period of time in so many districts, so many places, his credibility stands here. So that, and people these days are very smart, they would know, even if you try to give them a wrong picture, they will not take it, they'll know the correct picture, whatever. Mind you, my advice to the younger generation is also, we in the administration are always working with public. So whatever we do affects the public. In case I'm doing a good thing to you, you know about it. Even if I do not say, maybe you will tell it somewhere. If I'm taking money from you, I may be quiet, but you may tell it in 10 different places. So in any public dealing, it is not that I do something good or bad and that will remain hidden. Good or bad will be translated into your credibility, your reputation over a period of time, without your doing anything about it. So do your good job, do an honest job, do a thorough job. Your work will speak for yourself. You will not have to clamor for anything. You will get the best of. I can very confidently admit that till date I have not asked for a single posting in my entire career, and not one person can say that I have asked for any posting. And I would even say, the Lord Almighty, or in my career, I have always got very good charges. Never had a problem at all.
Do you have any regrets in life?
None. Absolutely none.
So when you look back, you feel that you had a very roller coaster kind of career and life, so?
Oh, I have had a wonderful career, very challenging assignments, and I think I have been able to deliver very well in wherever I have been, and my work has also been fairly recognized at all levels. I have done my state, Rajasthan. After that, I was for 8 years with Central Bureau of Investigation in Delhi, 8 years in CBI. Then I was again for deputation for 4.5 years in CRPF. I was in Bengal, I was in Chhattisgarh, I was in Delhi. And now in BSF, this is the third central organization that I am doing. So it is not that people in Delhi would not know what I have done earlier or what I stand for. They would all know. And so I think that speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Coming towards the later part, now in the BSF, lot of, I won't say an allegation, there are a lot of reports of infiltration coming in from various quarters, in and around, especially along the huge Indo-Bangladesh border which you are manning. Now, BSF is the largest paramilitary force in the country at the moment. So, do you think that infiltration, you have been able to stop it completely, or it's still going on at the moment and you have taken a very strong stand? What are the kind of stands that you have taken up?
You see, BSF is mainly confronted on the Indo-Bangladesh border with smuggling and infiltration, the illegal infiltration. We have a porous border, as you can understand, very densely populated, and with the population very near the border, villages very close to the international boundary also. About 2,400 kilometers out of about 4,100 kilometers are fenced, and 2,800 kilometers out of 4,100 are fenced, and the remaining is not fenced or it is a riverine area. The challenges are there's no doubt about it. But as you can understand, and from what infiltration was there in the yesteryears, maybe 30, 40 years back to even now, yes, there is an organized gang of touts and middlemen who promise people the moon and try to infiltrate them into, so to say, better pastures of life. So people do keep making attempts at smuggling or for a commission or whatever money they make, and for infiltration also. But on my boys at the border, my force at the border, there are absolutely clear instructions. In fact, in 2019, when we arrested almost over 3,500 people on illegal infiltration, in 2020, it was almost a 20% increase. 4,000 plus people were arrested for illegal infiltration. So attempts are regularly made, there's no doubt about it. Boys are up to the job, they keep arresting, and we have booked also a number of cases under the Passports Act, under the Passports Entry to India Act. And in case, yes, there are also cases where people stray across the borders in a very normal and a very innocent way. So we kind of get their identity established and hand them over to BGB, which the BGB Bangladesh border guards, which they have also appreciated. But we try our best possible efforts to curb at smuggling, which has seen a drastic reduction over in the last year also, whether it is cattle smuggling or whether it is drug smuggling or fentanyl syrup smuggling, and even things that come across to India, whether it is gold, or silver, or cloth, or other kinds of things. So they have seen a drastic, but because of the porosity of the border, because of the very dense population, people keep making attempts, and I would say yes, but we will try our best possible. We have identified in the local areas who are the touts operating one, and then our boys will take whatever possible legal action against them whenever anything comes to our notice.
And CBI and ED are taking a lot of very strong action against cattle smuggling. Cattle smuggling is a huge issue between India and Bangladesh, and there are a whole lot of these people involved, smugglers involved in this. Money goes to several crores of rupees. People with very high denominations are involved in cattle smuggling from all quarters, all strata of the society. So how much have you been able to really identify and cut off this cattle smuggling route and the smugglers and their connection with the top brass of the society?
You must have heard of the CBI, which has registered a case. It initially started with a CBI officer getting arrested, and he was taking money to his home state in Kerala. And as the offshoot of that case, a number of private mafia elements have been arrested, and in fact yesterday also one big mafia element was arrested, and a number of people of my organization as well as other organizations whose names have come forth, and CBI is getting to know their connections and the connivance, extent of connivance that was there involved. And we are cooperating completely with CBI. Well, if somebody has done a wrong act, well then he'll pay the price for it. And if the CBI being the premier investigating agency, if they have certain tangible evidence against them and they want our people for interrogation or investigation, we shall help them out. And we are very clear that this kind of corrupt practices or indisciplined soldiers, they will be taken to task if it comes to our notice.
So what's your message to your officers in this regard?
My officers, do your job as a professional border guarding force, premier force for the country. It is your absolute responsibility to guard the borders in the best possible manner, use best possible technology to check out infiltration or smuggling, and act in an absolute professional manner, whether it is criminal activities or whatever activities. You have to be a very absolutely unbiased professional guarding force, keeping the sanctity of the border intact for India as a country, and do the country proud for yourself and the force.
What's the relationship with the BGB and the Bangladesh government at the moment?
We have a very good relationship. As you are aware, we have DG level talks twice every year. We recently had talks in December also, and these are fairly on a very good note. There are certain points of view which we do exchange, and certain pending works which are pending for a long time, they are also flagged so that they can be expedited over a period of time. We have regular meetings, and in fact this year being the 100th year of Bangabandhu's birth centenary celebrations being going all over Bangladesh for the complete year, we also have launched a number of Maitri or friendship programs. We have a cycle rally which is going on for 4,000 kilometers all along the Bangladesh border, which has already covered almost about 2,000 kilometers now. And we have the retreat ceremony. We have started at Petropol once again in a very wonderful scenic manner. And we have a number of other programs also lined up and in 4 different places in North Bengal, South Bengal, Meghalaya and Tripura, where the BSF people helped Mukti Bahini to secure liberation for Bangladesh. Their martyr memorials. We had a wonderful function in which BSF and BGB people participated, and it went off in a wonderful manner. So we have a wonderful relationship, and I think we'll try and cement that further.
So you have the special kabars here.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
That's called assortment plate for the assortment. Yes, sure. Thank you.
You need to give me something veg. I'm veg. Yeah.
So at the moment you have a very normal, functional and a very cordial relationship with the BGB at the moment, and then subsequently there are minor skirmishes which happens, like allegations of stray people coming in, shooting incidents, reported incidents of shooting, not only by the BGB but exchange of fire. So how do you describe these sort of minor incidents?
You see, BSF also has a border, and we try and protect the border from whether criminals or smuggling or infiltration. There is no doubt about it, in the best possible way. But you know, criminals are also of all types. There are some desperate criminals, there are some smugglers for whom the stakes are high and they would like to do anything. Only when it comes to an extreme case where the life is threatened of one of my soldiers who is patrolling at night or daytime, it doesn't happen by and large. So when it is threatened by a group of criminals, group of antisocial elements, it is only in that extreme case that a lethal fire is resorted to. I can assure you from the number of sanctioned and approved non-lethal weapons, and we have non-lethal weapons of pump action gun, we have dye marker grenades, we have chili grenades, we have stun grenades, and we are using dogs also in a big way for patrolling. So these are used to thwart or at least deter people from coming to the borders or doing the illegal activities, but only when they also see that maybe they can catch one of our men unawares, or maybe they can overpower them. They are armed with sharp daws with, in fact, 3 days earlier on, we seized a desi katta, that's a country-made weapon from them. So they are also armed to harm our people. And in fact, now we are documenting how they have injured our boys by hitting them with daws, injuring our weapons, injuring our properties. We are documenting all of it. So it is only in that absolute extreme case that this is resorted to. And one question, whenever these things are happening, these are happening near the fence. What is a law-abiding person who either does fishing or agriculture or some other trade doing from 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning at the border, 3, 4, 5 kilometers from his house, and when there is cattle or fencidal or something available there that we catch. So a law-abiding person would not be, would be sitting at home sleeping, or he would be fishing in the lake or river, wherever, but he should not be there at the fence with a group of other people trying to get cattle across or drugs across. So it is a question on why these people are there at that point of time, and it is only then when they try to overpower or threaten that we try to use the lethal weapon, never otherwise.
This is more of a defensive technique.
Absolutely defensive, in self-defense. In absolute self-defense. I mean, because for us also, the value of human life is immense, whether it is Indian or Bangladeshi. I mean, human life is invaluable, there's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And before I wind up, I have one last question for you. What's your message to the smugglers or the illegal activists who are trying to either smuggle people across or trying terror activities or doing this kind of smuggling? What's your straight stance on them?
My clear stance is, if we find you guilty, if we find you at the borders, and we'll arrest you with whatever illegal booties that you're going to get across either into India or Bangladesh, whether it is smuggled goods or infiltration or with touts or with weapons, we will bring you to the book and we will pursue the cases to the hilt and we will not spare you. So that if you want to have that kind of a life, the choice is yours, or we can help you by civic action. We help a whole lot of people. We give them sewing machines, we teach them different trades, we hold medical camps, we help them out in every possible way. But do not do illegal things, because the path is ridden with a lot of problems, litigation, and something that you would not like. Do not do that.
That was a very, very candid Pankaj Kumar Singh with A&M News, and he made it absolutely clear that he is a no-nonsense police officer. Person with compassion, but straight. We just heard from Mr. Singh all about his life from his younger days till the time he is here in BSF, and his attitude and the way he's going to take things forward. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Vijay. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And I'm sure you definitely enjoyed the tea and you enjoyed the kebab also here.
We'll do that, certainly. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Keep watching A&M News, and we'll also come back to you with more such programs in future in A&M Adda. Thank you very much.
Thank you.